October 1944. Pennsylvania. The rain was falling hard enough to erase footprints. 16-year-old Eleanor Whitmore was just riding her bicycle to town, bread in the basket, her father's coat on her shoulders, when a hand grabbed her from behind and slammed her into the mud. A gun pressed against her head. The man shaking behind her wasn't a criminal. He was a German prisoner of war who had just escaped. What he didn't know, what no one knew, was that the gun in his hand belonged to her, and that the girl he thought was helpless had been trained for this moment by a brother who died in the war. 30 seconds later, 2 shots would echo through the forest, and a declassified U.S. Army report would later call what happened next impossible. Here is full story. Pennsylvania, United States. October 1944. The rain began before dawn. Not the dramatic kind that announces itself with thunder. Just a cold, steady drizzle that soaked the fields, flattened the dirt roads, and pressed the countryside into a quiet that felt heavier than silence. 16-year-old Eleanor Ellie Whitmore rode her bicycle along Route 322, her breath forming faint clouds in the gray morning air. The wicker basket on the handlebars rattled softly with every bump. Eggs wrapped in cloth, a loaf of bread, and a folded envelope bound for the post office in town. Ellie pedaled carefully, one hand steady on the brake, the other numb from the cold. Her father had been gone for 2 years, shipped out with the Army engineers to Europe. Her mother worked double shifts at the textile mill, stitching uniforms until her fingers bled. And Ellie had learned, like so many American girls during the war, how to become an adult without anyone officially telling her to. She wore a wool coat 2 sizes too large, her father's. Her boots belonged to her older brother. Her hair was tied back with a strip of cloth torn from a flour sack. Nothing about her stood out, and that was exactly how America wanted it. Behind the tree line just a mile off the road sat Camp Silver Creek. The locals didn't talk about it much. Officially, it was a labor reassignment facility, a place where captured enemy soldiers worked farms, repaired roads, and waited out the war. Unofficially, everyone knew. It was a German POW camp, 312 prisoners guarded by men who were too old, too injured, or too valuable at home to be sent overseas. Most of the Germans were quiet, some polite, a few even learned English, but not all of them. At 6:42 hours, a guard checked the barracks roster and frowned. One bed was empty. Was Carl Weiss, prisoner number A-2719H, 24. Former rank, Unteroffizier, Corporal, Wehrmacht. Captured, Anzio, Italy. March 1944. Carl Weiss had never planned to escape, at least not at first. When he arrived at Camp Silver Creek, thin from months of fighting and hunger, he was almost relieved. The food was better. The guards weren't cruel. The war felt far away behind barbed wire and routine. But weeks turned into months, and months into something worse than fear. Waiting. Letters from home stopped coming. Rumors spread. Berlin bombed. His unit destroyed. Friends gone. Then came the whispers. Germany was losing, and Carl Weiss couldn't bear the idea of surviving the war only to return to nothing. So when a guard dropped his wrench near the maintenance shed, when a storm rolled in and visibility dropped to nothing, Carl made a decision born of panic, not planning. By 7:10, Camp Silver Creek was on alert, and Carl Weiss was already moving through the woods. The encounter. Ellie never heard him. The rain softened every sound. Mud swallowed footsteps. Even the forest seemed to hold its breath. One moment she was adjusting the collar of her coat. The next, something slammed into the back of her head. She fell hard. The world flashed white. Her bicycle skidded into the ditch. Pain bloomed. Sharp. Immediate. Then came the voice. "Don't scream!" Cold steel pressed against her temple. Ellie froze. The man smelled like wet wool and fear. His breathing was fast, uneven. His hand trembled, but the gun didn't. It was a Colt M 1911. Ellie recognized the weight, the angle, the shape, because she had fired one before. "Get up," the man hissed. "Slowly." She obeyed. Her heart pounded so hard she felt dizzy. Rain ran down her face, mixing with blood from her scalp. He dragged her off the road, into the trees. "You will walk," he said. "If you run, I shoot." Inside her coat, pressed flat against her ribs, was something she felt more clearly than ever. A second pistol, wrapped in oilcloth, hidden in a pocket sewn into the lining by her mother's hands. A gun Ellie wasn't supposed to have, but had been trained to use. Thomas Whitmore. Her brother Thomas had taught her. Private First Class, Thomas Whitmore. Infantry. Killed in Tunisia, 1943. Before he shipped out, he spent long evenings behind the barn, showing Ellie how to load, unload, and clear a jam. How to breathe before pulling the trigger. And most importantly, never draw until the other man thinks he's already won. Ellie remembered those words now. Carl Weiss didn't. All he saw was a thin American girl, shaking in the rain. They walked deeper into the forest. Every step felt unreal. Ellie counted her breaths. 1, 2, 3. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. He hesitated. "Because your country took everything from me." His voice cracked. That was the moment. The pressure against her head shifted, just slightly. Ellie moved. She dropped, twisted, rolled, muscle memory taking over. Her hand was already inside her coat. 2 shots cracked through the trees. Carl Weiss screamed and fell backward. The Colt slipped from his fingers, landing in the mud. Ellie stood over him, arm locked, breath shaking but controlled. The forest went silent. Then came voices. English, shouting, running, commands. The search party had found them. Aftermath. Carl Weiss survived. He was recaptured, interrogated, and transferred to another camp within 48 hours. Ellie was taken home. No newspapers printed her name. No one spoke publicly about what happened. The incident was sealed. But it wasn't forgotten. Declassified report. In 1973, a set of documents was quietly released under the Freedom of Information Act. Among them, U.S. Army Counterintelligence Corps Report 12-447-C. It read, "Civilian miner Eleanor Whitmore successfully neutralized escaped enemy prisoner using personal firearm. Subject demonstrated exceptional composure, firearms discipline, and tactical awareness inconsistent with civilian training norms." In the margin, written in pencil by Major Henry Caldwell, was a note. This girl did not panic. She waited. Ellie Whitmore never sought recognition. She grew up. She married. She raised children. But sometimes, when the rain fell just right, she remembered the cold steel against her head, and the moment she realized the war had followed her home, and that she was ready. Epilogue. Carl Weiss was repatriated to Germany in 1946. Ellie Whitmore lived until 2009. Her children found the oilcloth-wrapped pistol hidden in an old coat after her death. Inside the pocket was a note, yellowed with age. "Just in case,